What's up, dude? The career of Anthony Davis in the NBA is one of the most poetic careers I think I have bared witness to. And I've only been a fan of the NBA since 2019. Like, looking back at Anthony Davis, so he gets drafted in 2012 to the New Orleans Pelicans, or I think it was the New Orleans Hornets at the time. What was very fascinating about it, right before Anthony Davis gets drafted, about like 6 months earlier in December, Chris Paul gets traded, and he was supposed to go to the Lakers, but they vetoed it so that he goes to the Clippers. You probably know about this because it was one of the like weirdest trades ever because they got vetoed, and it probably would have got Kobe another championship in LA potentially, but instead we live in this universe where that didn't happen. Chris Paul gets traded, the team lands a number one pick, and the pick that they use is for a generational type talent. Because at the time, Anthony Davis is super hyped, right? He is seen as he's almost hyped as like LeBron was. Not to the same degree, but his like year in college was so insane that he was seen to be like that guy coming into the draft. So then he plays for what, 8 years, around 7 or 8 years on the New Orleans Pelicans, and then he gets traded, or he basically forces a trade to LA to pair up with LeBron. And then guess what happens for New Orleans? What the fuck did I just say? New Orleans gets the number one draft pick, which they used to draft none other than Zion Williamson, which, as we know, was seen as like the next LeBron James, another generational type talent. But similar to somebody like Andrew Wiggins, it didn't turn out that well. You know, Zion's a good player, but he's definitely not reached expectations from what he had coming in, which it's kind of not fair for him. But at the same time, if I was Zion Williamson, I feel like I would at least, take my job that makes me millions of dollars a year a bit more seriously. Then we skip to 2025, and the Lakers, besides the 2020 championship, has had a rough time. I mean, like, they traded for Russell Westbrook hoping to make some sort of big three super team in LA, and that didn't work out. I was honestly pretty pissed off at the time whenever they were calling him Westbrook. Like, that was really disrespectful. But ignoring that, Anthony Davis, of course, gets traded for Luka Doncic, who is a 26-year-old superstar at the time, an actual generational talent. No disrespect to AD, but that trade was completely terrible. I think we all know that. That was one of the worst trades of all time for the Dallas Mavericks. But then, guess what happens for the Dallas Mavericks? They get the number one pick, in which they choose to draft Cooper Flagg, another generational talent, and Anthony Davis is sent to the Washington Wizards, where he's probably just going to spend like the rest of his career there until he retires. He'll probably get traded, actually, but maybe he'll have like a Paul Pierce type thing where he just sort of balls out in his last few years in Washington. And it's one of those things where Anthony Davis is like, he's not the main character, obviously, of this era, but he's like a transitional character. He's like a keystone character where without Anthony Davis, there's so much stuff that changes, where it's like, maybe LeBron doesn't get his fourth ring. Maybe the Pelicans probably don't get Zion Williamson in the draft. The Mavs probably don't trade Luka. One of the wildest trades in NBA history doesn't happen. It's all comes down to Anthony Davis. It's just fascinating to me how his career, especially if, and this would just wrap everything up perfectly, if the Washington Wizards were to somehow get like a number one overall pick and draft another generational type talent because Anthony Davis is there, that would just put a bow on everything. Anthony Davis would have one of the most interesting careers to look back on, not because how much he won or controversies. I guess technically Luka was a big controversy, but Anthony Davis didn't cause that. But it would just be because he's such a transitional character in between so many eras. Like, Cooper Flagg, from what we've seen so far, is probably going to be one of the faces of the NBA for the coming years, and he's going to have, hopefully, a really good career if he doesn't get injured, knock on wood. But, oh shit, this desk is like fake wood. It's like plastic. But yeah, it's just one of those things I don't see talked about that much, Like I've heard, because I saw Rusty Buckets made a video quite a while ago about the Luka trade and how LA just continuously gets these superstar type players for almost nothing in terms of how good the talent is for what they're trading away. I mean, they get Kobe traded in the draft, they get Shaquille O'Neal, you know, Magic Johnson, all of these insanely good players, LeBron James. Anthony Davis is one of those characters where he really is like kind of like a pillar in how modern NBA history has turned out. It's also weird because he sort of didn't have a decision in it. He didn't have a choice in the matter. I mean, sure, he could have decided, maybe he could have decided to stay in New Orleans, but like, I don't think that would have been great for his career, especially since he ended up winning a ring with LeBron. Yeah, it's just weird seeing Anthony Davis, who used to be this guy that was being compared to Tim Duncan. Do you remember that back in 2020 after they won the ring, where people were like, Anthony Davis is, he might be better career-wise than Tim Duncan? And was that where we got like the infamous, you don't know how good Tim Duncan was type clip? I don't think it was from that, but yeah, just the topic I wanted to discuss real quick. So thank you so much if you watched all the way through. I really do appreciate it. But other than that, I will see you later. Goodbye.